So it's been a little while since I've done one of these. It's been a crazy chunk of time, a lot of stuff going on in the world of Xerox. Welcome to the most recent Xerox office hours. This is probably going to be a fairly short one. This one's going to be on the new socks backend mode. I had meant to, well, I didn't mean to, but normally I try and do the office hours videos much closer to the development of the feature. More often than not, I try and do it in my development environment and make it, a use or an interesting feature demonstration and maybe show you some of the code and that sort of stuff. Due to the nature of this backend mode, doing this demonstration in my development environment isn't particularly compelling. This new socks backend mode implements a protocol called socks, and socks is a tunneling protocol. It's actually supported by most web browsers and a lot of other networking tools. It's been around for a long time. Socks is a way of tunneling your traffic so that it comes out in another on another system, basically wherever the socks proxy is terminating traffic. So if you go into Firefox and you go into the proxy configuration, you can see there's a socks host here. So for example, we'll just get into this. So if I go to DuckDuckGo and I do what is my IP, and I'll blur this out so you can't see my actual IP, but you can see I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, right? So that's my traffic is originating on my actual network because there's no proxy involved. So if we go to, and I've got three sets of terminal windows here. So the first one is my local environment. So this is a Windows host that I'm running this on. I've got a super dirt cheap VPS node that's sitting in Miami, US Miami. And if I do IP-ADDR there, you can see that it's got this network address. I've got another instance that's sitting in Osaka, Japan, and it's got this IP address sitting at 172.233.85.223. So yeah, so the new socks backend is super, super easy to use. This is already an enabled Xerox environment. You can see if we go back to here, I've got US Miami and JP Osaka already enabled here. So we can just go and then do on US Miami, we can say Xerox share private. The new socks backend only works with private shares. Backend mode socks headless. It doesn't take a target. Socks doesn't really have a target. It just enables a socks proxy sitting on the host where you do the share. So if we do that, now we've got this new share. So we can go ahead to our local environment now. If we come over here, you can see it currently says undefined in Xerox 4.24. That's fixed in 4.26 will be coming out, and it will say socks there instead. We'll end up with some capabilities that allow you to describe shares in more detail in future revisions, but for now, undefined is just because there's nothing there, and it doesn't use a target. But in the next version of Xerox, that'll be fixed. So we can take this access command and run it locally. And if we do that, let's do it with a headless mode, right? Run that locally. Now you can see you can access the Xerox share at the usual location, 127.0.0.1, so localhost on port 9191. So if we come over to here, and you can see that the console reflects that appropriately. If we come over to our settings, and we go into our network settings, and then we use a manual proxy configuration, and we say our socks host is this, on port 9191. Now if we reload this page, you can see that I'm actually exiting my traffic in Miami, Florida with the IP address that matches that host in Miami. So it's that simple. So if we go to, oh, I don't know, let's go to YouTube. I don't imagine that I'm still in the United States. I don't imagine that YouTube will look very different. Yeah, it turns history off. I'm not logged in. Let's just explore trending and see what's trending in Miami. Usual stuff, usual United States stuff. So yeah, and then just for fun, let's come over here and let's terminate our local proxy, the local access, and then let's terminate this, right? And let's switch over to Osaka, Japan, and we'll do the same thing. We'll do Xerox share private backend mode socks headless. And then let's borrow this command again. And let's run that locally. We'll skip the headless this time just for fun. So now if we do what's my IP and reload, now I'm exiting from Osaka, Japan. So I'm now as if I'm sitting on browsing as if I'm sitting on this host. So, and let's see what, just for fun, let's see what YouTube looks like on the trending page in Osaka, Japan. And it's all in Japanese, as one would expect. Looks very different than American YouTube. So yeah, so now I'm browsing as if I'm sitting on that VPS that's in Osaka, Japan. So that's useful for certain classes of things you might want to do. Let's kill all of that, and now let's show you. Let's do it backwards. So like, let's imagine I want to actually allow socks access into my home lab, for example. So I could come over to my local instance and I could say zrok share private backend mode socks headless. And then we can go, let's go back to Miami. Now let's go to Osaka. That's why I have the two windows open, is for this part of the demo. So if we do an access private here, right? On Linux, there's this command called tsocks that's available. I'm using Ubuntu for these VPSs. Let's get rid of this for now because it's not, my browser's not going to work without a proxy. So let's close that up. And if we go to here, we can do man tsocks. Tsocks is it's a wrapper to simplify the use of the socks library to transparently allow an application to use a socks proxy. So what I believe it does is it intercepts calls to the C library on Linux. And I believe there's a Macintosh version of this also. Intercepts calls to the C library that are trying to open sockets and then forwards them to go through a socks proxy instead. So there's a config file for it. So if we do cat tsocks.conf, it takes a server port, and a server type, and there's a bunch more nuances besides that. You can do partial tunneling and all kinds of split tunneling and all kinds of stuff like that. But I'm basically saying that my server's localhost port's 9191 because that's my zrok access, and it's a SOCKS 5 server, so server type is 5. So we can do things like tsocks curl, and this is the IP address of my local gateway, which happens to be running OpenSense. So if we hit that, now you can see that I'm hitting my OpenSense from that VPS in Osaka. So various processes that are running on a VPS somewhere could then use a SOCKS proxy to get into certain hosts in your local environment. In the future, we probably can extend this backend mode to allow you to limit which IP addresses or address ranges or things like that are actually allowed to be accessed through the proxy. But for now, it's meant to be sort of a wide open thing. If you want that kind of control, just use a TCP tunnel or a UDP tunnel or something along those lines. If you want a wide open access, SOCKS is an interesting way to do that. So that's basically what this new SOCKS backend mode is good for, is anything that speaks SOCKS can then use it for an additional layer of tunneling. So yeah. So this is a super short office hours this time. The next one's probably going to be a fairly long one in that I'm going to go over what's coming in 0.5, kind of get into some of the architectural changes, some of the big features that are going to be coming in 0.5. I think 0.5 we're going to see zrok grow up a little bit. It's 0.4 has been an interesting chunk of the development for zrok. A lot of great new functionality has come along. A lot of growth has happened, and I think 0.5 is going to be sort of a curation phase where we take a bunch of that stuff and really start tightening it up and making it even more production quality. It'll have much, things that are useful for end users that don't care about CLI applications. The sharing will be simpler. Some of the network stuff will be a lot more nuanced and powerful for people that are running this in server environments. A bunch of interesting stuff coming along. And I'm going to take my time and put together a really good talk about kind of where things are headed. So yeah, so as always, thanks for your time and attention. Thanks for checking this out. SOCKS is available in production right now. If you have any issues with it, reach out on our discourse. And any issues, any bugs, just log them on GitHub. So thank you so much. See you in the next one.